So I want to talk a little bit about Paramount acquiring Warner Brothers. And, I think it's interesting. I'm only going to touch on a few of the franchises, really the only ones that I care about, or, care about the most, I guess, because I'm only going to focus on two specific ones since those are probably the only two, or at least the two I feel most strongly about that could be affected from this. And those two are DC and Harry Potter, and obviously they're part of Warner Bros. So, Paramount merging with Warner Bros. And beating out Netflix involves DC and Harry Potter at least a little bit. Now, starting off with Harry Potter, because I think out of the two franchises, out of DC and Harry Potter, I think Harry Potter would probably be the lesser effective of the two, and that's because there's just not as big of an output of Harry Potter movies or TV shows. Now, obviously, we're getting a Harry Potter TV show, but I don't see that being affected, at least the first season because it's already underway and the deal isn't technically finalized yet. So I don't really believe there's much they can do there, like budget wise. And even if it does get finalized, it probably wouldn't affect season one. The only thing that could be affected is the budget going forward, like season two. But when stuff like this happens, when two huge companies merge, the most popular things, things that are already prioritized, tend to stay at the forefront. The stuff that usually gets squeezed with money and budget is the lesser known, lower priority things. So I don't really think Harry Potter is going to get hit money wise for that reason. And also, Harry Potter is just a smaller universe than DC. With DC, there's so many different characters and so much source material you can pull from. With Harry Potter, there's not even close to that amount. You've got the books, the seven main books, and then a few spin-off type things, books and other things off of that, obviously. But there just isn't as much there as DC, so I don't think you're going to get this massive uptick in Harry Potter movies or TV shows coming out because of this merge. And another thing to add here is if you were hoping for any kind of spin-offs, they're probably even less likely now. Not that we were getting a ton anyway, so it's not some huge change, but it's still worth pointing out because the odds of them greenlighting extra side projects are probably lower now. Now, talking about DC, I think this franchise will be more affected mainly because there's speculation around James Gunn and his future after this, whether he gets let go or he just decides to step down. Either way, it could result in him leaving. And obviously, that would affect DC immensely because he's behind the direction of the franchise right now. He's in charge of what's being made, and if someone else steps in, that changes the direction, again, what gets made and honestly how much of it we get. Now, I don't really think James Gunn would get fired because Ellison has already talked about the successes of Warner Bros. And, in theaters and Superman was mentioned. So if he feels that way, he clearly views that as a win. And by extension, he clearly views that part of DC as a win. So if Gunn were to leave, I think it would be more likely him stepping down, like it would be his decision essentially. And then budget wise, similarly to Harry Potter, I don't think you'd see a huge change with the main DC characters. Like, I don't think Superman and Batman and the Justice League level stuff is suddenly going to get cheap. If anything, the bigger change is that Paramount might have a tighter leash on what they believe will be successful, which could result in DC focusing more on the safest, most popular characters. Again, Superman, Batman, and the Justice League level, corner of the universe. And if they do make projects about lesser known DC characters, those are the ones that will probably get affected. Lower budget caps, more caution, less room to take risks. So money wise, the more popular DC stuff will get the money, and the stuff that gets squeezed is more the lower tier shows and movies about characters that aren't as, proven and popular. And honestly, the same general idea applies to Harry Potter too. The main story isn't really going to change, but any kind of extra spin-off type stuff is where you might see things get held back. And again, that's already less common with Harry Potter anyway. And at the end of the day, a lot of this is going to be performance based, especially early on. There's going to be a tighter leash on projects that might not be doing well. If something is doing well, it'll be pushed to the forefront. If something isn't, they'll either hold off on it or in some cases cancel it entirely. And one last thing on the James Gunn part, even if he stays, there's probably going to be more pressure on him because Paramount didn't choose him originally to run DC, so there's going to be a tighter leash, more expectations, and more pressure for him to prove that his DC plan works under the new ownership. So anyways, let me know what you think, if I missed anything, and whether you think either of these franchises will be affected at all. And so again, if you're seeing this, let me know. And that's it.